brought to you by
Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury, and JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Kirk Market. Experience a world of choice.
We ask our listeners and viewers to avoid any statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use indecent language or make any statement that is false or misleading. Call 1-800-534-8255, 949-6990, 949-8037, or WhatsApp us on 925-3261.
Live from Radio Cayman Studio.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Hear from your government officials in the position on issues that matter to you.
For the Record.
Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
With Orrett Connor.
Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is For the Record.
For the Record. 1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, O land of soft, fresh breezes and verdant trees. So fair. Today is Wednesday, the 18th day of September 2024 here in the beautiful Cayman Islands. We do hope and we trust that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable evening. Those of you who are on our roads, whether you're a pedestrian, a cyclist, or if you're operating any type of motorized vehicle, we urge you to please, please, please be extremely cautious. Ensure that you observe the rules of the road, because if you do, then the life you sail may be your own. So, folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles as we traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I'm your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. During that period, our phone lines are open. None other than that beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson back in the studio waiting to take your calls. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flow. That toll-free number, 1-800-534-8255. Also, 949-8037, 949-6990, or WhatsApp number 925-3261. For those of you who are celebrating a birthday today, or if you've celebrated one over the past few days, we want to wish you a happy birthday or a belated happy birthday, whichever one is applicable. And to remind you that the For the Record birthday shout-outs brought to you by Coca-Cola, who are proud to support your birthday shout-outs. Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga wholesalers. You should accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Those of you who have lost loved ones, again, we want to express our sincere condolences to you. We hope and we trust that your faith will help to carry you through these extremely challenging times, and that the memories of your loved ones will be a blessing. Those of you who are ill and are either at home or at a medical facility here in the Cayman Islands or overseas, we do wish you a speedy recovery as well. So let's look at some of the birthday shout-outs today for today. We have Mr. Jeffrey Watson, who is also the brother of that radio voice on Radio Cayman, Miss Susan Watson. He's celebrating his birthday today, so birthday greetings are coming from Miss Susan and the rest of the family. We also see that Miss Gay Jackson is celebrating her birthday today as well. Happy birthday to Miss Gay Jackson. Tomorrow, Miss Carla Borden celebrating her birthday. Buck Grizel also celebrating a birthday tomorrow, and Natalia McLaughlin will also be celebrating a birthday tomorrow as well. So we want to wish all of those persons celebrating a birthday today a happy birthday. Again, Mr. Jeffrey Watson and Miss Gay Jackson, who we are aware of. But if you know someone who's celebrating a birthday today, please share that information with us, and we will give them a big shout out right here on For the Record, proudly brought to you by Coca-Cola, who are proud to support your birthday shout-outs. Coca-Cola available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga wholesalers. You should accept no substitutes. You should taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. And also want to say belated happy birthday to Miss Toy, who celebrated her birthday. I think she celebrated her birthday yesterday, the 17th of September. Miss Toy celebrated her birthday as well. A 94th birthday. Wow. Amazing. And we wish her all of the best, and may she live to see many, many more as well. I believe we do have a caller, so we have sufficient time to take that caller before we go to our first commercial break. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, good. Mr. Connor, this morning I was here roughly about 6:10 coming out of Newlands there by the Thompson roundabout.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lane that coming from the east is a left lane, and I think there's another lane that can go wherever you want to take you. So that left lane, people normally take that, and if they go into town, they stay in that lane and they go about their business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this morning now, this guy's in the left lane coming down. It's nowhere in the world that he could have braked when he got there, and he continue coming down, and came across the 3 lanes. Drive across the 3 lanes with a speed that he could not control if he had to.
Mm-hmm.
I do not know what Mr. Walton's plans are for our roads with our police officers and the speeding that is going on, because if they cannot have sufficient officers out there, they need to have a proper meter because, so like these speeders, their license plate, and issue them a ticket. If Mary was driving John car, well, Mary will get that ticket. Don't look for John. You give it who is driving the vehicle. And also on the bypass this morning coming from Newlands, there's this truck coming down, partial no lights on the truck, loaded with a lot of lawn stuff, and the leaves are flying left, right, and center. I don't know what the plans are, but we need some serious plans on our roads, because if innocent people are getting hurt. Innocent people are dying on our roads because of stupidity of driving. My girlfriend told me she comes down, leaves home 4:45 every morning from north side. And the people coming down flying wants to kill her on the road. She had the same experience just a couple of days ago trying to get home. And the still Honda Fit is trying to take her down as much as possible to get where he want to get. You know what hurts so much, Mr. Connor? They will overtake you and then make the next left turn into a parking lot or a home or wherever the case may be.
So true.
I don't know. I don't know what's the purpose of all these lanes, and there's no restrictions out here. And you know what, too? This driving test that they go and take, they need to put the word on that mental health. Anybody who wants to drive license now in Cayman should have a mental health checked and given to that license.
Yeah, some sort of psychological test. Yeah.
Something to see what condition these guys are in, and even the young girls is doing it. And Mr. OC, these people are on the road driving and drinking. They bear, and I see someone just the other day driving and got two things in his hand up on the steering wheel, a bottle and a Pepsi, mixing whatever he was mixing. I mean, we are becoming the U.S. with this crazy driving and all this drunk driving, killing innocent people.
Yep.
It got to stop. It got to stop. And this, we got a track up there by John Gray High School that people go and walk and whatever. If you see the plastic bottles that are on the ground down there, you would not believe it. If the containers there is full, you came in a car, why can't you take your plastic bottle back with you that you just drink that water from? Why are you living in this island? I mean, OCB's clean that we got election coming next year. And we got 19 new members who's forming to come out here to run for this island. Boy, they better come with something better than what we got right now. And like I said this morning on your station, Ms. Dorsey, I'm asking Ms. Julia Conley if she could please put one more notch in her belt and open these primary schools at 7 o'clock in the morning for these kids to go into that gate instead of be hanging around the gate. Parents got to go to work. It's very disheartening to see these little young children. They may want to use the bathroom. They may want to sit by a desk and lay their head down. They're coming from far distance.
What time do they are they allowed to be there?
7:30. They open the gates at 7:30 in the morning. Cars are lined up at these primary schools to let their child out to go to school, and they got to go to work at the same time too, Mr. Connor.
Would that be a good job to employ someone on a temporary basis to be at the school that time, even if it's to keep everyone in a common area until the other teachers get there? Would that be a good job for someone in the community to be there at 7 o'clock to receive those individuals and keep them in a common area?
I agree with you 110%. That would be a very good idea. But, Mr. Connor, remember now, our teachers used to be at school to receive these children years gone by. Everything has changed for the worse. Our teachers are getting a very good salary, and I understand they should be getting a raise this month.
Some got a boost, yeah. Some got a boost,
and
yeah.
the thing with it, Mr. Connor, they can bring in teachers. They got enough teachers. They can rotate them so many on per day. And by the time the week is over, the kids are safe and they did their job. It's nothing wrong with bringing teachers on duty in the morning, 7 o'clock. When you're going to have a classroom waiting for a teacher to come to school at 8 o'clock or 8:15, 8:30, I think that is a bit cold and it should not be happening in our island. And I'm not going to go no more deeper than that, but the fact of the matter is they need to put them on duty or hire some of our local people to go to these primary schools, open that lunchroom or that whatever room it is that they got there and put these children inside there, let them relax themselves until it's time for breakfast, and then go into their classrooms.
Yep.
And another thing, people saying that bus warden jobs are easy. I want to tell Cayman today, bus warden jobs are not easy. We appreciate the job, but the fact of the matter is the way that we are being abused by parents and the children is uncalled for, and there's no one to stand up to fight for you. But as soon as a child want to go and tell the parents what they want to tell the parents, they doesn't want to get three sides of the story. They want their story, their side of the story, and that is it. They don't want to hear nothing from nobody except because their child is right. Well, I want to say today.
Thank you very much, caller. I have to go to a commercial break, but thank you very much. And caller mentioned education as well. So when we return from the commercial break, I'm going to share some good news with you again about the education. Minister of Education, who have just recently appointed an individual as the Deputy Chief Officer in the ministry. Don't change that dial. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
The 1980s offered a decade of monumental progress as the Cayman Islands built upon its previous few decades of prosperity. In 1985, government consolidated the hotel, marine, trade and building, and evening schools into the community college. In 1986, marine parks were established in the waters off Grand Cayman in March and in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman in May. By 1987, the National Trust for the Cayman Islands law is passed and the trust began. In 1988, there was a close call for Grand Cayman as the eye of Hurricane Gilbert passes 30 miles south of Grand Cayman, causing $16.5 million CI dollars in damage. Also in 1987, the Water Authority's West Bay Road sewage system began working. By 1989, the census reported the population of the Cayman Islands at 25,355, a 150% increase on the 1970 population statistics. The CI Postal Service also celebrated 100 years of service.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way, positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. Rotary@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
Tortuga's annual Drinks Festival is back from the 9th to the 13th of October for an incredible week of events, including its signature evening experience at the Westin on Saturday the 12th of October. Tickets are on sale now at tortuga.ky.
Did you know that you can send money transfers to financial institutions anywhere in Jamaica with JN Money?
You mean I can send money straight to my account and cut out the middleman?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. You send your own money to your own account, giving you peace of mind that the money is in your account.
JN Money Transfers to Financial Institution is another convenient service offered by JN Money. You can have this done from any JN Money location. Deposit your money straight to your account without the hassle of asking someone to do it for you. JN Money Transfers to Financial Institutions, making life easier.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
This is For the Record.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No guests in the studio, but we will have guests later on talking about hurricane preparedness. Remember, we're in the month of September and hurricane season goes all the way up until November. And this time of the year is usually identified as the busy part of the hurricane season as well. So we will have people in the studio. We are told that Minister Isaac Rankin is celebrating his birthday today as well, and birthday greetings are going to him coming from his rundown friend, Mrs. Lorna Bush. So happy birthday to Minister Isaac Rankin as well. So Miss Jewel of Northside will be celebrating her birthday tomorrow. So happy birthday. Greetings are going out to her from family and friends as well in advance of her birthday tomorrow. And okay, this person says, I'd like to endorse the last caller on those valid and important issues. That's a very important situation to be addressed from the Education Department and the PTAs. Thank you. So if there are no arrangements for schools to be open earlier to receive children whose family or parents have to go off to work before the time that the school opens. I recall hearing in the past that there may have been arrangements at some schools, stand to be corrected. But if you know more about this particular issue, please share the information with us, because we want to ensure that if it is that service is provided at any particular school, we want to know about it. And if it's not at some schools, we'd want to know about it as well. But the caller, of course, she's a bus warden. She knows about the schools as well. So, she's relying on first-hand information, personal knowledge as well. Belated birthday greetings. Also, we've asked to go out to Mr. Matthew Wright, or White or Wright? Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T, Matthew Wright. Birthday greetings going out to you as well. So, folks, I said to you I wanted to share with you some good news coming from the Education Department. So yesterday, 17th of September, Ministry of Education announced that they were pleased to announce the appointment of Caymanian Jerome McCoy as Deputy Chief Officer with responsibilities for adult education and public libraries. This appointment follows an open recruitment process and Mr. McCoy's successful tenure as acting Deputy Chief Officer since July 2023. So he's been acting Deputy Chief Officer for more than a year. So he would have been eligible to be nominated for an Oscar as well. Well, he finally got his Oscar. Says in his new role, Mr. McCoy will focus on enhancing the ministry's technical capacity for policy and planning while strengthening the operational departments responsible for implementation. His oversight will extend to key areas including libraries, public library services, scholarships and grant administration, and tertiary level education programs. Mr. McCoy's career in the ministry spans over a decade, including roles as strategy officer for adult education, education strategy officer, business advisor, and senior accountant. This wealth of experience provides him with a comprehensive understanding of the ministry's operational challenges and strategic objectives. Acting Chief Officer Lynette Monteith expressed confidence in Mr. McCoy's abilities, stating, and I quote, "Jerome has consistently demonstrated his capacity for highly competent leadership throughout his career. His understanding of the ministry's operations, coupled with his innovative approach to problem solving, makes him an invaluable asset to our team. I am confident that in his new role as Deputy Chief Officer, Jerome will continue to drive positive change and excellence in our adult education and public library services. His appointment is not just a personal achievement, but a significant step forward for the ministry in our mission to provide equitable access to quality learning opportunities for the people of the Cayman Islands." Mr. McCoy holds a Bachelor of Science in Accounting from the University College of the Cayman Islands and is currently pursuing a master's degree in business administration at the University of Bradford. Additionally, he possesses a Level 3 award in leadership and management from the Civil Service College and serves on the UCCI Board of Governors as the minister's representative. Reflecting on his appointment, Mr. McCoy remarked, and I quote, "I am incredibly honored and humbled to have been appointed as a Deputy Chief Officer in the Ministry of Education, and I am excited to get started. I am looking forward to making a difference in the lives of our students and educators." The appointment, effective 1st of August 2024, underscores the ministry's commitment to developing local talent and strengthening leadership. So this was a good press release that when Caymanians are appointed, there was a point in time when you were appointed and they would tell you who you're related to, who your family members are. They're so extremely proud, of you as well. And if my memory serves me correct, this young man was in the studio and for the record with us before. He comes from a family of educators as well. His grandmother, I believe, I'm almost certain, but we don't say that anymore. Is it our Constitution doesn't allow us to identify Caymanians and to hail them up and to say who they belong to, who their family to, who their family to as well? Why can't we do that? Continue to do that? Or is it because if we do it and we say the person is Caymanian and whose families, and then when you appoint someone who's non-Caymanian and you can't say that, people will figure out right away that is not Cayman. We have to continue to hail up our Caymanians, say where they came from, who their grandmother is, who their grandfather is, who their mama is, who their daddy is. We need to let them know everything about them. Folks, that's the only way that we're going to be able to continue our culture and our heritage here in the Cayman Islands if we identify who we are. With that, we go to the 8 o'clock news. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time now by Foster's is 8 o'clock.
West Bay, are you ready?
The new look Foster's Republics is now open.
With a spacious new deli, a cheese lover's fromagerie, a hot new bakery, a coffee and juice bar, and the ultimate made-to-order breakfast, burgers, pizza, sandwiches, and Asian stations.
Our fresh produce and meat selections have grown and are serving only the best.
And you're going to want to stop and smell the roses in our gorgeous new floral department, where something blooms every day. Discover the new Foster's Republics in West Bay. Bigger and better because we care.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. More options for flyers to and from the Cayman Islands. According to the Caribbean Journal, United Airlines is now planning to add more flights to Grand Cayman from Chicago, Houston, and Washington, D.C. for the winter season. This will reportedly include new daily service between Chicago O'Hare and Cayman starting in mid-December and continuing as daily service from March. In Houston, travelers will reportedly be able to fly daily to Grand Cayman in November and December, which is up from once weekly service, and the Caribbean Journal reports that route will become daily from next March. United will reportedly be increasing its flights to Grand Cayman from D.C. to a total of 4 times every week with service on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. The Development Control Board, which considers planning applications for the Sister Islands, is meeting today. During the meeting, they'll discuss an application for a 3-story, 1-bedroom house and 40-foot shipping container on Fish Bowl Loop in Cayman Brac, which is known habitat for the Cayman Brac parrot, a protected species under local law. The Department of Environment is recommending that the developer, if the project is approved, keep as much native vegetation on site as possible. Another house application on Guy Banks Road in Little Cayman has prompted a response from the DOE, which has clocked that the area is next to Preston Bay Marine Reserve, near important habitat for protected least terns, adjacent to the Preston Bay Iguana Nesting Sanctuary, and the beach on the site is proposed critical turtle nesting habitat in the National Conservation's Draft Sea Turtle Conservation Plan. The Planning Department, in its analysis, is recommending that the application be adjourned and sent to the National Conservation Council for review. The DCB is also set to consider a 2-story house on Hideaway Link in Little Cayman. You can find the full agenda online at planning.ky. In other news, music at the library is back and will feature Caymanian cello star Daquan Smith.
Dequan has performed several times in Cayman. His concerts include a performance in 2022 at the Cayman Islands Baptist Church in Savannah, where he performed Brahms and Bruch with Korean pianist Eugene Yon.
Cayman Arts Festival's Marius Guina tells Radio Cayman Smith also performed with pianist Adam Heron at the John Gray Performance Center last year, playing works by Bach, Beethoven, and Brahms. The 21-year-old started his cello career playing in 2016 at the Cayman Arts Festival summer camp when he was just 13. He's currently studying in Scotland. He'll be joined tomorrow by Glenn Ananga on piano. You can get tickets for tomorrow night's 6 p.m. show at the Georgetown Public Library at eventbrite.com. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which takes us out of the newscast. I'm Carsley Fuller.
BBC News, I'm John Shea. Iran has condemned Israel for Tuesday's synchronized explosions of Hezbollah pagers in Lebanon, calling it mass murder. The Iranian ambassador to Beirut was among nearly 3,000 people injured. 12 people died. The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken denied that Washington had any prior knowledge of the attack. A number of pagers that didn't explode have been recovered and are being examined in an investigation that could involve at least 6 countries. The Taiwanese electronics firm Gold Apollo says although its name was on the communication devices, they were manufactured by a partner company in Hungary. Ukrainian security officers say they've hit a Russian arms depot in an overnight attack. The explosions near the town of Toropets were so powerful that sensors thought it was a small earthquake. The government of the Netherlands has told the European Commission that it wants to opt out of common policies on migration. The new Dutch asylum and migration minister, who belongs to the far-right Freedom Party, said the country needed its own policy. The global vaccine alliance Gavi is to make its first purchase of the Mpox vaccine to combat the outbreak in Africa. 500,000 doses will be delivered later this year. An EU court has annulled a fine of more than $1.6 billion imposed on Google over online searches. It said the Commission had not considered all the relevant circumstances in its investigation into market dominance. India's top court has quashed criminal proceedings against soldiers accused of killing civilians in a botched ambush in Nagaland in 2021. The Supreme Court said it couldn't convict soldiers without federal approval. BBC News.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At Valley Med Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Boddentown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit Valley Med Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Boddentown. Live happy, live healthy with Valley Med Pharmacy.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Healthcare Pharmacy, caring about your health for the past 25 years. Radio Cayman's premier health show.
Alzheimer's and dementia, are they the same disorder?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
Is heard on Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. and on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Brought to you by Healthcare Pharmacy in Grand Harbor, where they care about your health. Transfer and refill your prescription online. Visit healthcarepharmacy.ky or call 947-8900. Healthcare Pharmacy, now with a second location in Governor's Square. Healthcare Pharmacy, where they care about your health.
The 8 a.m. weather update, brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
Good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 86 degrees. Relative humidity is 76%. The barometric pressure is 29.85 inches and rising. The wind is east-northeast at 8 knots. Overnight low temperature was 83. Synopsis indicate a tropical wave across the Cayman area is likely to produce a few isolated showers this morning. As the wave moves west, a pocket of dry air is expected to move across the northwest Caribbean, reducing cloudiness and showers over the area by this evening. Continued light to moderate winds and slight seas are expected to continue for the next 24 hours due to a slack pressure gradient across our area. Radar images show isolated showers in and around the Cayman area, drifting towards the northwest. The National Hurricane Center has marked an area over the northwest Caribbean with a 20% chance of cyclone formation over the next 7 days. The Cayman Islands National Weather Service will continue to monitor the development of this system. Now, the forecast for the Cayman Islands for today, calling for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of afternoon showers. Temperatures will be in the low to mid-90s with a heat index near 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Your winds will be easterly at 10 to 15 knots and seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. Tonight, mainly fair skies with a 30% chance of showers and temperatures falling to the low 80s tonight. Your winds will be east to southeast at 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. Today's high tide will occur this morning at 9:31, low tide this afternoon at 3:29, and a high tide again tonight at 9:23. The sun will set this evening at 6:23 and will rise tomorrow morning at 6:14. And the outlook is calling for mainly fair skies with possible afternoon showers through Friday afternoon, as mainly dry air lingers across the northwest Caribbean.
Take some advice from your Aunt Angie. Don't lie on your resume. Because if you say you've got trapeze experience, someone might shoot you out of a cannon and expect you to do a gymnast routine while flying through the air at 82 miles an hour. And just because you want to land on your feet doesn't mean you will. But if you're smart, you'll have CG medical insurance, so you get the best coverage for the price.
Get the best coverage for the price. CG Britcay. Good like that. All benefits are subject to policy provisions, including eligibility at the time of service.
The 8 a.m. weather update, brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
Marketers, creatives, and visionaries, are you ready to be inspired? Join Simpla's 11th Annual Marketing Conference, The Connect Experience, under the theme Icons and Innovators, October 11th and 12th at Hotel Indigo. Discover the latest trends in marketing innovation, sharpen your skills in hands-on workshops, and connect with industry leaders who are changing the game. Plus, celebrate the best of Cayman's marketing and creative professionals at Simpla's Awards Gala, honoring the icons and innovators in the field. Don't miss out. Secure your tickets online at simpla.ky/events.
According to statistics in the 2022 Cayman Islands Student Drug Use Survey, 23.1% of students reported being bullied in the last 12 months. The Anti-Bullying Schools Regulations 2022, brought forward by the Ministry of Education, aim to prevent bullying in our schools and help schools create a welcoming and safe learning environment for our children. Please encourage your children to report bullying to an educator. Learn more at gov.ky/education.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Enjoy a delicious start to your day with breakfast from Subway.
Good morning once again. Let's take a look this time at traffic. Slow-moving traffic coming from the east on Cool Road, also on the Lidford Pearson Highway. Traffic steady but flowing coming off of the Estella Tibbetts Highway. As we look to the West Bay Road in front of the Ritz, traffic is moderate in both directions. Steady but flowing traffic on North Sound Road and heading towards the Industrial Park area. Traffic is moderate. Godfrey Nixon Way and Eastern Avenue flowing at a good pace in both directions. Coming off of Agnes Way off the Linford Pearson Highway, traffic is steady. Into Georgetown on Shed Road looking good, and out of Georgetown on Shed Road, moderate flow of traffic. Edward Street flowing moderately as well. And that's the very latest on your traffic. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12. We'll give you another look at traffic. Have a good morning, and remember, click it or ticket.
The rich flavors of Italy just arrived at Subway. Say ciao to the Italianos. Our 3 new Subway Series recipes, carefully crafted with an Italian flair. Try the Hot Shot Italiano for an enticing and zesty touch. The tastier than ever Ultimate BMT, generously stuffed with a mix of ham, pepperoni, and salami. Or go all in with a creamy chicken bacon Alfredo. New Subway Series Italianos. Chef-crafted greatness in every bite. Elevate your game only at Subway. Delizioso.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Enjoy a delicious start to your day with breakfast from Subway.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
The 7 a.m. weather update, weekdays on Radio Cayman, is brought to you by RAM Water Tanks. Call 925-3832 to order your water tank. RAM, built to last a lifetime.
With Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We are now going to be talking about hurricane season again. And I have 2 regulars in the studio with me. They've been here now last week, and we were on other platforms as well. During the week, but this is an important time of the year for us here in the Cayman Islands and the Caribbean in general. So we're going to be talking about the National Week of Readiness, which takes place from today, the 18th of September, right through until the 25th of September. Of course, we are now entered into the peak Atlantic hurricane season, where vigilance and preparedness is urged. And no better persons to hear that from than the experts in the field. In this particular case, we have Mr. John Tibbetts, who's the Director General of the National Weather Service, and Miss Danny Coleman, who is the Director of Hazard Management, Cayman Islands. Folks, good morning. Welcome back to For the Records, as if you slept here.
Got my cot outside.
I think I'm going to put my name on one of the chairs or something. Good morning.
A gold plaque behind John's chair. Good morning, Daisy. Good morning, listeners.
And John, what were you saying about getting that frequent flyer mileage?
That's okay. It's something that I enjoy doing.
So let's talk about the National Week of Readiness in the Cayman Islands. And you can never be too ready. No matter how much preparations you make, there's always something that you can fine-tune. And I believe that we can safely say that here in the Cayman Islands, we're getting better and better at our preparedness. But at the same time, we continue to see more traffic coming into the Cayman Islands, persons who have never lived here before. So you have to keep reminding people, as well.
Yep, OC, I totally agree. I mean, I think last week we obviously commemorated Hurricane Ivan. That was certainly a journey back to the past. I think a lot of us had forgotten just how much damage there was. I think when you're living in it, you tend to not see it quite as much as when you look back 20 years later and see how far we've come, but also just how much damage there was in 2004. So I think that's really important. I think, again, this week, as you say, we're focusing on readiness. So it's a sort of next phase of that sort of Hurricane Ivan journey, so to speak. And you're right. I mean, we can't be ready enough for really any eventuality. Hazard management nowadays is all hazards. So, obviously we're at the peak of the hurricane season, so that adds another layer. But we also have to be ready for every other hazard that we face. Over the last couple of years, we've had COVID, we've had big fires at the Mount Trashmore, or the dump, and we've had lots of other events, migration issues, lots of different things that we've had to face. Several other storms, but again, it's just being ready for anything. So that's why we're really trying to focus everyone's attention this week to being ready for whatever the season and whatever the year holds for us.
Mr. Tibbetts?
Well, I think I'd have to agree with exactly what Danny is saying here. Even from the concept of hurricanes, we used to have them at one point bottled in that hurricane season from January to November. They're forming outside of it now. And that'll put you in a kind of a constant state of readiness in its own way. But I know that under hazards management they talk about having your hurricane plan and what have you. Your hurricane plan shouldn't start on June the 1st. It should be something that is at some level of preparedness all year long. And whenever a storm comes or when you get into the season, you should just be doing the end pieces of that plan. You should not be at the start of the plan. You should have some of the what they call low-hanging fruit out of the way, and just be concentrating on things that are that you can do in very quick, short order. Because especially this time of the year now, when we're moving past the peak of the hurricane season, which occurs on September the 11th. And on the backside of that, we usually have quite a bit of very large storms, and they can form up very, very quickly and give you next to no notice. And it's a difficulty that myself and Ms. Coleman face in terms of warning times and what have you.
I think one of the things that, again, I try and look at these storms with a bit of a changing the narrative. You look at Beryl this year, and having an early storm, I think was, a great way to get people prepared for the whole season. We can't take anything for granted. And yes, we're in the height of the season, coming up in the height, well, we are in the height of the season now, but we also at the sort of season time that we get much more rapid intensification and much closer storms forming. But that Beryl was in many ways a blessing to us because we tested our systems, everyone took it seriously. It was a really a wonderful thing to see the public taking it so seriously and getting so prepared. And there'll always be the odd person who doesn't think it's a big issue. And we were very lucky in Beryl. It could have been a lot worse, but at the same time I do think it was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, and I think I'd agree with that. I always like to have for the season an early storm in the early part of the season
If you're going to get one, get it early.
Get it early and not make it be one of these big major ones. Just something that will just wake up people and put them on a state of alert.
Mm-hmm. Has anyone looked at the phenomenon? We see more and more now of whenever there's a hurricane, usually within the region, you end up with some sort of an earthquake afterwards. Now, I know that when it comes to tremors and earthquakes, that it happens, so often during the course of a day, the course of a week, that we don't know about. But I'm wondering if down, another 10 years down the line, 20 years, or even before that, there's likely to be some connection between, in terms of the earth and how it's interacting, hurricanes and earthquakes.
I don't know about the correlation between the two. I can't comment on that. And I think it'd be a very, very good study.
Yeah.
I do think climate change, again, has so many implications on both of those things. And, of course, as a result of climate change, we really are experiencing lots of changes in our environment. And, of course, that potentially does lead to increased earthquake action. I think those energetic releases happen quite frequently, as you say.
Mm-hmm.
In our office, we obviously have all the monitors up. Unless it's a threat to Cayman, we don't often put it out to the public because, again, I think a lot of the time we want to avoid scaring people. It's a cry wolf a lot of the time because if it doesn't impact you in any way, if it's not going to impact the Cayman Islands with a tsunami, for example, or any kind of issues to, shaking or whatever else, we tend to avoid posting it. The same goes for weather. There's a lot of weather out there that we won't post until we are a bit more sure that it's going to impact the Cayman Islands. So, yes, there may well be a correlation. I don't know what it is yet, but I think it's a good study to be done by someone, PhD student or something. I'd be very much in interest as to what that result is.
Well, they've had research projects done on the correlation between the two, but one of the difficulties that they have is that you are having an atmospheric event influencing a seismic type event. And there's quite a bit of difficulty in making that linkage.
Yeah.
Some of the thought process on it would be that where you have hurricanes, for example, major hurricanes, you've got lower pressure, significantly lower pressure, which may influence the Earth's surface and stuff like that.
It's a really good point, John. Actually, the pressure, of course.
How real that is difficult to say. Because, take the Cayman Trench, for example. You're having low pressure, even Ivan Gilbert and those guys and stuff like that. But that low pressure has to be felt through 26,000 feet deep water. Those kind of things are very difficult to perceive.
Yeah.
And maybe there's some brilliant people out there with PhDs that will come up with something, I'm sure, but, it's going to be a difficult case and a difficult sell to make.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's talk about some of the activities in the during this National Week of Readiness as well. Starting with the what the local supermarkets will be doing, and I'm going to poke this question in there as well, in terms of we know that we encourage people to stock up for hurricane season, and then when hurricane season is over, you get rid of that stuff, give it to charities or whatever to use.
Yeah.
And whether or not anyone has been looking into, we know, for instance, meals ready to eat is something that the military.
Yeah, we eat that stuff. It's dreadful. I wouldn't recommend it on anyone. It's very calorific and very gross.
Yep. that is something that the military uses. Are we at a stage now in terms of food sustainability and everything to develop some sort of a product that would be useful during, let's say, a hurricane season, that you rather than the canned goods and stuff that we're trying to move away from because of some of the side effects of those things, whether or not anyone is looking into this whole area of food preparedness and sustainability?
I think it's a really good question, AC. So we have MREs, meals ready to eat, in hazard management, and I will say again, we've also sent those overseas over the last few years to sort of Anguilla and other places affected from Irma, Maria days to Dorian and so forth. So we have sent some of that stuff over. I will say they are pretty disgusting. and you really have to be very, very hungry to eat it. And so what we've found is that very few people will, no matter how hungry they are. There's other options. And I think that's why we're so lucky in Cayman, is because we work very closely with our supermarkets. I mean, this week is a great example. Some of the supermarkets coming on board to do the blue tags, specials for hurricane season preparedness, and also doing some recipe suggestions using canned goods, and as a partnership saying, recipe come to you from hazard management. So they've been very, very good coming forward and actually joining us in a partnership. But also they are very good throughout the whole year. I mean, we work very, very closely with a number of them, and they have been excellent in regards to storing food for us if we need it for the season. Foster's are very close partners of us, PWL, working very closely with us to make sure that there's enough surge stock in place for the season, and they will sell that at the end of the season. And obviously, if we use it, then the government pay the retailer. But it's been a really good relationship for many years now, and I have to give a big shout out to Foster's because again they've really, really stepped up. Hurley's also involved in that as well. So I think it's one of those things that that public-private partnership with supermarkets is really important. Food security is going to be an issue when it comes to climate change. And so we have to really think outside the box. And I think one of those things, for example, in the NEAC, when we are at the National Emergency Operations Centre, when we're activated, we do have 3 meals a day that are cooked by Mise en Place. We've done a full-out recruitment, and again, they've come with these box meals, grab and go, because the last thing we need is for emergency responders to have to be thinking about food when they're supposed to be, working in the NEAC. So that, and again, another of the first responding agencies also use different caterers to feed, people on the ground, first responders on the ground. But I do think another one that we're doing is working very closely with the Ministry of Agriculture. This is Hazard Management Agriculture, working together on a food security project, so mapping food across the island, so all the farms, we know what produce each farm has. Now that's critical for food security. It's also important for, in the post-emergency or post-hurricane relief stage, what did that farm have? If there's going to be government stipends, let's try and make sure that we are looking at what the farm had as opposed to standard price across the board. Because if you have that sort of backyard farm, and someone else has a 40-acre farm, the stipend really shouldn't be the same. It should be the value of what the loss is.
Yes.
And so we've been working very closely with PAHI on that, Ministry of Agriculture, to make sure that we know what's on the islands. And then, of course, hopefully down the line this will become a public forum, but we can also work with that information. We can work with the supermarkets to say what produce we've already got here. So then you think about what do we need to import in. So it's been a really good relationship. Our mitigation specialist, Mark Hodling, has been working very closely with the guys down at Agriculture to make sure we can map that across the island. And it's just it's a brilliant project.
Okay, we're going to go to commercial break, but I'll preface when we come back, another question that I would have. We see sometimes that we have buffer crops when it comes to avocados, when it comes to mangoes, when it comes to breadfruits. Everyone has breadfruits at the same time. You can't give them away. They're ripening and dropping, under the tree. There must be some way that we can mitigate the loss of so much produce just simply because, we don't have enough persons to consume it, but finding innovative ways of preserving them that they can be used, so much goes to waste. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we're going to continue to talk about the week of preparedness, which takes place from today, the 18th, until the 25th. In the studio with me, Mr. John Tibbetts, the Director General of the National Weather Service, and Ms. Danny Coleman, the Director of Hazard Management, Cayman Islands. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Have you heard the Ministry of Tourism and Ports has launched the Visitors Experience Development Grant Program? This program is for Caymanians looking to provide a new product or service to visitors of the Cayman Islands. Successful applicants may receive up to CI $50,000 in funding to be used for business-related expenditures. To find out more information and apply, you can visit www.ourcayman.ky/VEDGP. That's ourcayman.ky/VEDGP.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers, a compounding story.
I don't think people realize how pain creeps into your life. It has a way of robbing your strength. I really don't like taking prescription medication orally.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. They understand.
When it comes to compounded medication, it's personal. So whenever there's a problem with some medication or treatments that's not working right, then a physician will call me and say, hey, they're having bad side effects from this medication.
Compounding pain cream changed the game. Made special for me. Significant pain relief in the form of a cream. That is a new experience for me.
It's changed his life.
It worked.
Ask your pharmacist or healthcare provider about compounding at West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Call 914-6449.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
The sale you've been waiting for is here. Brand Source Home Gallery's custom closet and kitchen cabinet sale is now through September 30th. Save 20% on closets, pantries, Murphy beds, wall units, media centers, and that long overdue kitchen cabinet makeover. Our designers will create your dream closet or kitchen. Choose from our in-stock selection or special order and have installed before December. Shop now and save 20% with Brand Source Home Gallery's custom closet and kitchen cabinet sale. Hurry, sale ends September 30th. Visit us at 209 Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, or call 623-5000.
This is For the Record.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're talking about National Week of Readiness here in the Cayman Islands, which takes place from the 18th, today the 18th, until the 25th of September. That conversation is taking place with Mr. John Tibbetts and Ms. Danny Coleman. I believe we do have a caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, OC, and good morning to your guest. This is Minister Brian.
Good morning, Minister.
Morning.
Good morning, Minister. I do apologize to just go off subject for one quick second, just to remind the public that the Honorable Deputy Governor will be on Radio Cayman on Friday morning speaking about some very important matters in respect to the civil service and the hiring and the authority around it. It's a topical issue right now that is important for the public to hear. And I haven't heard any promotions about that because it's something I think every Caymanian should be listening to in respect to the makeup of the hiring and firing within the civil service and how to move forward. So I want to encourage those that, even though we're listening to this very important topic today, to tune in Friday morning to listen to what the Deputy Governor is going to be saying, because it's topical to a lot of issues that we're facing today in the community. So I encourage everybody, tune in this Friday listen to the Deputy Governor. I may be on the radio with him, but I just want to encourage everybody to tune in. All right?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Minister, for that plug as well. Yeah. And while we're at plugging, maybe I should do this. Let me see if I can find a WhatsApp message. And we have the fact that the Cayman Islands Orchid Society will be holding their free repotting classes on Saturday, the 21st of September at 4 p.m. at Vigoro Nursery and on Agricola Drive in Lower Valley as well. So Saturday, the 21st of September, 4 p.m., Vigoro Nursery, Agricola Drive. If you want to know more about repotting, and the classes are for free as well. That's being put on by the Cayman Islands Orchid Society as well. So back to our panelists here in the studio. So my little rant about local produce and when we have these bumper crops, how can we go about in terms of ensuring food security, looking at ways to preserve them, and whether or not we encourage it on an individual basis if it is not a commercially viable project to move forward on. And we hear people will tell you all the time, well, here's what I do with my breadfruit. Some people may say, boil it a little bit first and then freeze it, put it in foil paper or whatever. So we have these homemade remedies. Can we encourage more of that when it comes to local produce?
I think it's a really good question. I think we all need to be doing our part right now and for the rest of our lives to ensure that we're doing our bit to help with the climate changing and the adaptation accordingly. I'm sitting here with a plastic cup and I feel very guilty because of it, because again, it's such simple, small things we can all do. Mm-hmm. Going back to your bumper crop, innovative ways of preserving them. I think, I don't know of anyone who's doing it right now, but I do think we have been approached by one private company to talk about the waste issue. Mm-hmm. As you say, there's so much waste coming from supermarkets, from farms, from things that do go bad. And unfortunately, I think there's a number of ways of dealing with it. I think preservation is a great one. And I do think it's a brilliant business for anyone out there who's in that position, who can do it and find ways of preserving it and potentially working with government on that. I think the avoidance of waste is critical. We've seen the landmass and the landfill is just so full these days that, we really need to be doing everything that we can to recycle and reuse. Even things like having your own compost. We have a compost at home, and it's not particularly nice. There's a lot of flies, and it's not the nicest of smells. But I know we're doing a small bit towards our part. So from an individual basis, yes, everyone really needs to be thinking, what can we do? There's so many great charities in Cayman, and of course the Ministry of Climate Resiliency and Sustainability, who are doing great educational pieces on how we can, as individuals, do our part. But again, from a commercial standpoint, I really hope someone is thinking about that in the Cayman Islands, as to how we do preservation of food, how we utilise what's being waste. One man's, waste is another man's jewel. I think with the current financial situation that we're in, and a lot of people who really are struggling from a financial perspective, there needs to be ways that we can utilise that, and people do get, everyone's fed at the end of the day and everyone gets a good meal, because there's enough food out there in the Cayman Islands that we really shouldn't be wasting any of it. So I think, let's look at old school ways perhaps of, the old school bartering. If you have an avocado plantation and someone else has banana, there's just trade across. But there are definitely ways that in future we can find to preserve food and utilise it and make sure that everyone has a hot meal at the end of the day and no one goes hungry.
Okay. Mr. Tibbetts, we're coming over to you and talk more about the National Weather Service. And we know that sometimes that Doppler radar system, has come under criticism. Some people, when you read on some of the social media posts and stuff like that, they almost think it's some sort of conspiracy that at certain times, whether, the system is down. And you spoke at the discussions that we had at the collection last week, Wednesday. You spoke about the advancements made by the service since the Doppler radar. You spoke about, some of the challenges. We know what the challenges are in terms of, parts, because you can't just simply, go on Amazon or go to some aftermarket company and find parts when they're there. But let's talk about some of the advancements and some of the challenges, as well as the plans for future National Weather Service, the new facilities, expanding training opportunities for Caymanians. You've spoken, about that as well.
Okay, well, let's start with the weather radar.
Yes.
Obviously, the weather radar is something that the National Weather Service, 1 minute we're praised for, and the next minute we're dragged through the mud for. Whenever it does have difficulties and have downtime and what have you. I'd like to take time out to big up Cabinet Secretary Samuel Rose, and especially Ms. Cassandra Morris, who is spearheading a new robust plan for the weather radar.
Okay.
It is something that's done in collaboration with the National Weather Service, from our forecasters down to our techs, from the director all the way down to forecasters and what have you. And there's a lot of conversation going back and forth to build up this robust plan. And Ms. Morris is at the head of that plan, and it's through some of her brilliance that we are where we're at right now, including getting the radar back up in a timely manner before the season started, and the future plans for it and what have you. Regardless if we got it up and running, there's one significant issue, and that is the weather radar. Our weather radar here in the Cayman Islands is fairly old as a weather radar. When the tech came down and he did the work that he carried out, it would have meant some additional new parts into that weather radar, but generally speaking, the majority of the weather radar is still aging. At the very least. So that has to be addressed.
Now, do we have a more modern or up-to-date version of that radar that we could acquire?
There's always a more modern version. There are companies out there that they make their living on making weather radars. And this has been some of the conversation as well, and we can't get into necessarily too much of it. It's just that, let's just say that we are looking at the future of the weather radar. And let me clear something up, because I've seen I try to be diplomatic with it, but some stupidness out there.
Yeah, uninformed persons,
When the weather radar goes down in the Cayman Islands, you cannot replace it with the Cuban weather radar. You cannot replace it with the Jamaican weather radar. You can't replace it with anything that AccuWeather has, the Weather Channel has. The weather radar is the weather radar. Within 400 kilometers of that radar, the only thing you have is that radar. Okay? The radars in Cuba are pointed at too high an angle, and we're on the outer fringes of it. When you're looking at their images, you are looking at the tops of the clouds, the tip tops of the cloud. Same thing with the Jamaica weather radar. Okay? So when the weather radar in the Cayman Islands can't be replaced by another situation.
And that the reason for having that was because of that
hole in the Northwest Caribbean.
Yes.
Correct. That was part of the business case for it. We're part of a Caribbean meteorological organization plan to have weather radars across the Caribbean. And so it was them working with Mr. Sambula with regards to doing the procurement and making the case for the weather radar in the Cayman Islands. Now, beyond that, we also have the staffing of the National Weather Service. You take away all the tools. The single most important thing in the National Weather Service is the staff. Okay? It is their brilliance where they have to see what the various pieces of equipment are saying and digesting the information. Okay? And then coming up with a prognosis or a forecast going forward in the future. And let me just say this. I know, especially during the hurricane season, Cayman has 80,000 experts on hurricanes.
Yes. I think it's about 84,000 experts.
Thanks for the correction. Including the babies. And one of the things that's come online in recent years is that the general man out on the street now has access to weather model data. Okay, and they take the weather model for gospel. My old boss, Mr. Sambola, always said the weather models have a tendency to try to model his brain. Okay, the Hurricane Center works with these weather models, all right, and they're constantly monitoring. Okay, and they put things out there that are of concern, and I have no problem with it. I work with the Hurricane Committee through the Regional Hurricane Plan, okay? But there are some things that happens with the outlook that the Hurricane Center has, and that is as soon as somebody sees something on there with a 20 or 30%, they go, oh my God, we're getting something now. Or they'll look at a weather model output and they'll say, oh my God, we're getting something now. My rule of thumb with 40 years of experience is this. When I'm looking at products, until I see something tangible forming, okay, up until that point, it's fictional from the hurricane, from the models and from everything else. So when the National Weather Service, the National Hurricane Center puts out something, you look at that first 48 hours. That tells you if something tangible is forming. Okay? Currently, for example, there's a low percentage system over the Northwest Caribbean. Can't remember if it's a 20 or 30% right now. But the first 48 hours right now is at zero. That means nothing tangible is formed yet. That means right now, as the weather models are saying, something will form. Okay? I've been around this game for too long to have remembered times when the models have done this and nothing comes out of it. They will spew up and tell you, say you're getting a major hurricane, and then when the day comes, there's nothing there. And in fact, one of the checkouts for the National Weather Service is to go 4 months in the National Center for Environmental Prediction in Washington, D.C. And one of the things that they try to teach you there is the concept of what we call spurious cyclones, where weather models have a tendency to make up a storm and say that there's going to be a storm formed and stuff like that, and nothing forms.
Okay, we have to go to a commercial break. When we return, the conversation with Ms. Danny Coleman and Mr. John Tibbetts will continue talking about National Week of Readiness taking place from the 18th to the 25th of September right here in the Cayman Islands. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
You can now renew your driver's license or motor vehicle license online, and you don't need an ESID number. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Visit www.dvdl.gov.ky.
The sale you've been waiting for is here. Grand Source Home Gallery's custom closet and kitchen cabinet sale is now through September 30th. Save 20% on closets, pantries, Murphy beds, wall units, media centers, and that long overdue kitchen cabinet makeover. Our designers will create your dream closet or kitchen. Choose from our in-stock selection or special order and have installed before December. Shop now and save 20% with Grand Source Home Gallery's custom closet and kitchen cabinet sale. Hurry, sale ends September 30th. Visit us at 209 Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, or call 623-5000.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. We're talking about the National Week of Readiness in the Cayman Islands, 18th to 25th of September. Conversation with Mr. John Tibbetts, Ms. Danny Coleman. Our phone lines are open if you have anything that you want to contribute or any questions that you want to ask in relation to readiness for disaster readiness in the Cayman Islands. Later on, Ms. Danny is going to talk also about the 4 pillars of preparedness, mitigation, response, recovery, and everything else. He's going to be talking more about that, getting into the technical part of things, but we're also talking about the practical side of things as well. And Mr. Tibbetts is going to continue to talk about the National Weather Service.
Can I just jump in real quick?
Sure,
John?
Danny, yes.
I think John mentioned a really good point about, sort of that the systems out there that haven't yet formed. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned earlier on that, obviously we're very careful about not crying wolf and not getting, we have to make sure there's something there before we do start advertising too much about, what's going on. The information's out there, obviously, it's very wide with the social media. And with technology, of course, technology is a great thing. Having that input is fantastic. That data is so important. However, it also leads to a lot more mental health issues. If we're constantly on high alert, nowadays we have that 72-hour alert phase, which is brilliant. It's great to have that. But at the same time, you have a lot more stress in the community because, you constantly fight or flight response. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just really important, we're here at the Week of Readiness. Just be ready all the time. I think it would take a lot of that stress and anxiety out. No matter what the time of year is, be ready for whatever Mother Nature gives us.
Yes. Be proactive, not reactive.
Absolutely. You don't want to be fighting in that supermarket when you've got 36 hours to go.
Precisely. John, back over to you.
Well, to be honest with you, there's been quite a number of times where the Weather Service has put out a statement, and when I'm going back home in the afternoon and I'm thinking I'm going into Foster's or something like that, and it should be relaxing stuff. I'm going to get to Foster's. Oh my goodness, everybody's there and everything's off the shelves. So, with regards to the National Weather Service and what have you, I would also say that the National Weather Service, through Ms. Morris, is working. And the comms team from the Cabinet Office is working on a much more efficient communication from the National Weather Service. Mm-hmm. And there are some, I would use the word breathtaking type changes that is occurring as of recent. And again, kudos goes out to the Cabinet Office and their team that are very involved in that process. I'd also like to take time out to shout out Mr. Benjamin Harding, who is our newest Caymanian weather forecaster. He's just completed his training, and will be completing now a checkout period before he's actually put on an operational forecast period. I'd also like to shout out to Mr. Gall, our new senior meteorological observer, which is a new position within the Weather Service. It was advertised, and Mr. Gall came in for the interview and was the selected candidate and what have you. And we certainly look forward to what he's going to bring to that position into the organization. The National Weather Service is an organization that has about 18 staff members right now. 17 of those are Caymanians, and the other one is really married to a Caymanian. So we always strive to try and get our Caymanian people into the job positions and what have you, and build up their career. When you're in high school, there's no There's no class in there that says you're doing weather observing. I remember from A-level geography, and I would say that if you were doing the O-level geography, you would probably have been exposed to things like cloud types and things like that. But weather observing is so much more than that. And weather forecasting, again, you don't learn that in school. You have to go to specialized institutions to get that kind of qualification. Additionally, we've got a bunch of staff members there that are they're treating this thing not like a job but like a career. We have some of them. We almost have to fight to get them back out of the office. They're spending a lot of time there, making sure they're getting their projects done and making sure that what they're contributing is for the betterment of the organization. I will also say that we are at that particular point of the year where the National Weather Service is going to be, just like hazards management, kind of like on high alert because it is at this time of the year when we have these systems that can form in the Western Caribbean and the Northwest Caribbean and rapidly develop. 1 minute it's an area of clouds, next minute you got a hurricane. For those that are monitoring their weather channels and what have you, and their weather models, they will know that there is a weather system coming either late this weekend or early next week that they're saying that will impact us. And you can listen out for whenever bulletins come out on that and what have you. And as we get a better handle of what is going to come and what kind of impacts it's going to have, National Hurricane Center started issuing, putting something on their Outlook product as of yesterday, which means that something within 72 hours is likely, within 7 days is likely, pardon me.
Okay.
So
now, we also see, northwesters, or what is now commonly referred to as cold fronts, getting much stronger here in the Cayman Islands as well. How much more focus will you be placing not just on hurricanes but seasonal occurrences?
Well, I have a meeting coming up with my fellow directors of Caribbean Weather Services in November. And one of the things that I have to do is do a presentation of significant weather impacts for the year. Okay? If it's the regional hurricane, we're going to talk hurricanes. But for this one, it's any system. And for the National Weather Service, there are three significant impacts that we've had so far for the year. One was the huge storm in the early part of the cold front, nor'wester/gale warning that was issued in the early part of the year. Number two was really in the early part of June, in the first couple of weeks. Our rainy season did not come as expected on that second week in May. It was delayed into June. And if people would remember back now, when in the late part of May, we were actually talking drought and heat warnings and what have you. And then in June is when the first week of June is when our rainy season actually started this year. And we ended up with some heavy rain and some flooding and what have you. Then, of course, we've got Beryl that came through and what have you. So we've got it's going to be an interesting report that we're going to present in November. But again, it gets back to when Miss Coleman talks about things can impact you at any time. In the weather field, things can impact you at any time, and this year has been no end of shortage of those, as it were. I will say that one of the things that we're looking to try and build out is our National Weather Service building, and once we get into that building, I think we'll be able to be in a better position to deal with a lot of these systems in terms of having the manpower and having the space to operate from.
Okay, folks, top of the hour, headline news at 9 o'clock. When we return, the conversation will continue about National Week of Preparedness here in the Cayman Islands, starting today, Wednesday, the 18th of September, through Wednesday, the 25th of September, and that conversation is taking place with Ms. Dana Coleman and Mr. John Tibbetts. Don't change that dial. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Kirk Market and Health Services Authority.
The Cayman Arts Festival presents a concert tomorrow showcasing pianist Glenn Ananga and cellist Daquan Smith. During the recital, Leonard Dilbert will recite some of his poems as well. It's taking place tomorrow at 6 p.m. and tickets are available at eventbrite.com. In international news, multiple reports say Israel's Mossad spy agency placed explosives in thousands of Hezbollah pagers before they detonated. Lebanon's health ministry says at least 12 people were killed, including 2 children, and 2,750 are still in hospital after pagers exploded on Tuesday. A senior Lebanese security source tells Reuters the pagers were brought into the country months ago. Separately, Israeli and U.S. sources say Israel detonated the pagers earlier than planned, fearing that Hezbollah had become aware of the plan. Hezbollah used pagers after banning mobile phones earlier this year, saying they were too easy to track. The pagers seem to carry a Taiwanese brand, but Taiwanese firm Gold Apollo denies any involvement, saying the pagers were made by a Hungarian firm. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
Radio Cayman. More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
The Health Services Authority would like to thank you, the Cayman community, for voting us the Best of Cayman Islands 2024 in 13 medical categories. As the largest and longest healthcare provider in the Cayman Islands, we have been caring for you for many generations, helping the people of our islands live longer, healthier, and happier lives. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you. For more information, visit hsa.ky or call 949-8600.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. We're talking about the National Week of Preparedness here in the Cayman Islands with Ms. Dana Coleman and Mr. John Tibbetts. So we're going to go over to Ms. Danny now and talk about the 4 pillars of preparedness.
Thank you very much, AC. Going back to those 4 pillars, obviously it's pretty much self-explanatory. Preparedness, mitigation, response and recovery. Preparedness, for example, is a lot of the training that we do, making sure the public's prepared, a lot of the educational out there, our community emergency response teams, getting them set up, and also working with all our other emergency response stakeholders to ensure that we have this sort of interoperability, we call it, that we're operating together, that we can, if there is an emergency, we can work very closely together, and we're all speaking the same language. That could be anywhere from triage on the ground, obviously looking at if there's an incident that requires medical triage, but also at the various levels, strategic, operational, and executive level. Mitigation, again, speaks for itself. It's making sure that we can mitigate against a risk. We know fine well we are living in a hurricane belt. Anyone who doesn't know that in the Cayman Islands really should, because we do have hazards. We know we are going to be exposed to certain hazards, and some more so than others. I was talking this morning with someone from the private sector, talking about how much shipping we have across nowadays. And again, looking at things like oil spills and what does that look like. We've had a couple of near incidents recently. And I think, understanding what our risk is so critical, but also putting mitigating factors to make sure that risk is lowered, or the consequences of that risk are less detrimental to the island. So things like, the IoT flood sensors, we're working very closely with various stakeholders to make sure we can map the entire island for floods. And again, this is not just the rainfall. Obviously, John provides a lot of this information. And again, John is one of our key stakeholders. Weather Service is one of our key stakeholders here. But making sure that if there is rainfall predicted, we can measure it from our office very, very quickly. So before you see the puddles on the road, we're obviously monitoring deep down in the ground. Now, we've only got one out right now, but we're going to be installing another 4, hopefully in the next couple of months. And again, this will form part of a much bigger project John's already sort of alluded to. But again, other things like mapping capabilities and so forth. Building codes, I mean, it's great to see how far we've come since Ivan. The building codes have got much better, and I think a lot of people really do. It's one thing to get sort of a bit irritated when you're told that there's an issue with the building you're trying to develop, but actually there is reasons behind that. So, things like environmental impacts, but also, hazard. What kind of, if you're building on the coastline, what kind of hazards do you need to think about? And I think one of the things we're trying to do at hazard management is be part of that process, making sure that when developments do happen, especially if they're highly vulnerable areas, that we are very much part of that conversation to make sure that mitigation measures are going in to stop that development from being impacted. I think in January we saw a number of different developments that were severely impacted that could have had a lot less impact had, sort of some of this advice been given, or some of the, we've been invited to the table.
So does that need to be enshrined in legislation that you become a part, of the process?
I suspect so. I think to make it meaningful anyway. I mean, obviously, Department of Environment have a very key role at the table, and they do provide some excellent advice as to, the environmental impacts, what will happen. And we work very closely with DOE as well. So I think being part of that process is really, really important for hazard management. The response, again, we've seen enough responses over the last few years between the different, COVID, fires, earthquakes, tsunami scares, hurricanes, whatever. The response is what happens in the immediate aftermath of an event. So what do we do as first responders? How do we coordinate that? How do we work together at the various levels? Because we're not just talking about on-the-ground operations. We're also talking about at the very top, so cabinet, executive. Everyone has a part to play with this. And so I think it's really important to be aware of what does response look like, but we plan that beforehand. And of course, as soon as a response starts, your recovery is also being starting, because you can't recover from anything unless you have a really good plan in place, and that you're, when you're building back better, that's part of the recovery phase. I think in Ivan we saw a lot of people who were really well prepared for a storm, had boarded up all the windows, had got sandbags, had done great preparations for the stocks, food stocks, water stocks, but had no plan for the aftermath. And I think that's where we all fall very short across the region, really, as to what does that recovery look like. Recovery is not a very exciting thing. It's a very, very long, drawn-out process. We saw it in Ivan, a couple of weeks afterwards, everyone was really in high spirits, working together. That equalizer we talked about last week is such a great thing. But again, exhaustion kicks in.
Yes,
desire just to get back to normal. You haven't got a car, you haven't got a house, you haven't got any creature comforts like electricity or water. So that recovery needs to be built in. And one of our focuses at hazard management is the business continuity side of things for all governments. So every government department needs to submit every year, as part of our legislation, a business continuity plan. And that will look like what happens after whatever the event is. How do we make sure that we've got all our key staff here? How do we make sure that we can function, our financial institutions don't go down, our tourism sector doesn't get too badly impacted? So you think about the long-term economic sustainability and development, and getting everyone back on their feet very, very quickly. I think the longer you leave it, the longer the recovery process is drawn out, even in a large-scale event, people lose faith. External financial institutions who invest in Cayman will lose faith in us. So I think we need to be really, really, really careful about that. Just going back to my own personal experience, I remember a storm. It was kind of about 18 years ago. It was almost hit us. I can't remember what the name of the storm was, but it was I think it was called Dean. It was a very close call. But I remember my dad working overnight, and he didn't stop all night long. And I kept saying, well, why? Again, this was before I was in this line of work. Maybe it was a bit longer than 20 years ago. So why are you working throughout the whole night? He's like, because I don't want external people who are relying on us to think there's an issue. And as soon as you let the guard down, it becomes we lose our reputation as Cayman Islands as a financial institution. But also it creates that level of fear for the security of, be it finance sector, tourism sector, and so forth. So I think that recovery is such an important part. And we're just about to, in fact, we're actually advertising for a recovery specialist coordinator right now. And I think
that's the job that I was going to be applying
You are.
for.
You're going to apply for that. I haven't seen your application yet, OC, so I'm waiting for it. But again, it's all a big cycle. And I think, one thing leads into another: preparedness, mitigation, response, and recovery. It's definitely a cycle that we have to be aware of the entire time, and making sure that we're preparing for the recovery and the response and the mitigation aspects.
Yeah. Hurricane Dean, it seems it was sometime in August of 2007.
2007. Okay, that's it. Yeah.
August of 2007.
Yeah.
I'd say something with regards to the plan that that the hazards management has in it, and that was, if it was something that if there's something that stood out in what Ivan taught us, was that as bad as we think things can go with regards to our plan and stuff, there's always worse. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of us were kind of caught like this deer looking into the headlights of a car when the storm hit and the impacts that it had. And I don't know how much of us could have imagined that our beloved country could have been damaged as much as it was. And here you have the weatherman saying to you, you probably haven't seen the worst yet. Mm-hmm. So when you're talking about planning and stuff like that for recovery, you need to think that the worst possible situation is possible that you got to plan for. And I think that is so important for us, because if you plan halfway, it's not going to work good.
And you have to plan. I say plan is so important. I know we have all our national plans for every eventuality. However, when the real event happens, there's all sorts of things that you have to adapt the plan according to next time, because we're learning all the time. And I think that level of being dynamic and being flexible is so critical in all emergencies. So yes, you can have your own family plan, but there's going to be things, when the storm hits, you're like, I've completely forgotten to get that or this or that and whatever else. And I think it's just really important just to be flexible with it, and, it is what it is.
Mr. Tibbetts, while you have the mic, I try, the person who inquired as to, I guess it's more semantics than anything else, referring to the National Hurricane Center in the U.S. when it should be the U.S. National Hurricane Center. And I did send a response, but I'd like to hear it from coming from you.
So there's an infrastructure across the entire globe set up by the World Meteorological Organization. And in our area, there are specialist centers. All right. And the Hurricane Center is a specialist center. It handles the provision of hurricane information for the Atlantic and the Eastern Pacific Oceans. However, at the same time, it is a part of the U.S. National Weather Service. Okay, so it is a bit of semantics. We refer to it as the National Hurricane Center. But sometimes you will hear us say it's the National Hurricane Center that's in the U.S. or something like that, because they would try to set up similar type centers, let's say in the Western Pacific Ocean, where they have similar type organization set up. So, but I will say the Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida is world renowned for the work that they do, cutting edge. And I've been up there. I've spent a 2-week workshop and a whole 1 month attachment with them, and I can tell you there are so many things going on inside that building. For a meteorologist, it's a kid in a candy store.
Yeah. But it's also funny that the National Hurricane Conference this year, catching up with the team over there. And I think we're very lucky in Cayman Islands. We do have a really good relationship with all the stakeholders in the National Hurricane Center in the States.
And we have always had that.
It's brilliant. And I just love, even when there's a slight storm, we get text saying, "Are you guys okay in the Cayman Islands?" I'm like, "Oh, it's really nice." They've got a lot of things going on. They're monitoring the entire area, and yet they're still checking in with us. And it's just a really good relationship.
And I mean, besides that, there's a regional hurricane committee for which the head of the Hurricane Center usually serves as the chairman.
Okay.
And the size of the Cayman Islands National Weather Service allows us, I don't want to say it gives us a seat at the table, but because we are perhaps the best organized of the British Caribbean territories in terms of weather, then usually either the director or another representative from the National Weather Service usually attends that conference as part of a team. And right now, because of that regional hurricane committee, Mr. Kerry Powery, our chief meteorologist at the National Weather Service, he plays a very significant role in the region, and that is he's the chairman of the infrastructure committee.
Okay.
And has been serving that for a number of years now and doing a fantastic job.
Excellent. We're going to take a commercial break. When we return, the conversation will continue, so don't change that dial. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers, a compounding story.
I don't think people realize how pain creeps into your life. It has a way of robbing your strength. I really don't like taking prescription medication orally.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. They understand.
When it comes to compounded medication, it's personal. So whenever there's a problem with some medication or treatments that's not working right, then a physician will call me and say, "Hey, they're having bad side effects from this medication."
Compounding pain cream changed the game. Made special for me. Significant pain relief in the form of a cream. That is a new experience for me.
It's changed his life.
It worked.
Ask your pharmacist or healthcare provider about compounding at West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Call 914-6449.
The DVDL Customer Support Unit is now open. Customers can book appointments for written and driving tests through DVDL's hotline at 945-8344. That's 945-8344.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you. From cookware to stereos, from power tools to plumbing supplies. Yeah, we got the best goods with the best price and a service to make you smile. At Kirk's Home Center, we got a great deal in store for you.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. We're on the last segment of this last leg of this segment of the show this morning. Mr. John Tibbetts had to leave us. Miss Danny Coleman is still in the studio with us. And while this question may not directly relate to national preparedness, it is something that seems to occur more often than not these days. We know that our public beaches, this was something that I several years ago I spoke about, and I thought it was a good idea for employment of young Caymanians having lifeguards on our public beaches. Whether or not that could be a positive move for the government, but then you wonder what liabilities you may be placing on the government once you have a lifeguard there and something happens and they are found to be negligent, then the government then bears the responsibility and everything else. But only last weekend, I believe, I saw where there was an incident at the public beach where someone had a particular incident, almost drowning on the public beach, and apparently there were either a member of the emergency services who was on the beach with family members or a former one, but they were able to assist until the professionals or those active were able to be there. And the whole idea of training for CPR and all those things, while I know that it falls under the Red Cross, can you speak in general about it, and anything else that may be tangential to that?
Yeah, of course, OC. As you say, I mean, Red Cross play a fundamental role in the training, first aid training. One of the things, obviously, in first responding lives that we live in, first responders are trained in first aid, hazard management. We're all trained every 2 years. We make sure all our community emergency response team members who would respond for the National Emergency Operations Centre are also trained every 2 years, and other agencies as well follow suit. I think it's really important. First aid is such a critical tool to have, but just also for members of the public. I mean, what a brilliant present for someone. Christmas present, birthday present, do a course. It sounds crazy, but it really, really can save lives. Bizarrely enough, my husband always seems to be in a spot where he has to respond to someone. It's happened several times in the last year, about 3 times. And he's, his first aid training comes straight back. And I would sort of, it's quite extraordinary that something, a couple of hours of training can be so useful. So again, if you're thinking about what to get your mother for your birthday or Christmas or whatever, please strongly think about a first aid course. Going back to sort of any kind of CPR and so forth, Lifeline, the charity Lifeline, are doing some excellent work with mapping where the AED machines are around the island. Okay. And again, that is a life-saving, that information, knowing where the closest Lifeline AED machine is so brilliant. And again, we're working with them. There's several other government agencies working with them, including 911. And again, I think it's really, really important that is encouraged and Lifeline is supported to make sure that becomes a reality in conjunction with government. But it is knowing where your AED machine is and knowing how to perform CPR can make a very different outcome to a very difficult situation.
And there's no legal requirement that you know of that persons are required to have these AED, and if you can, for the benefit of our listening and viewing audience, tell us exactly what AED stands for. But are there any legal requirements, or this is all just voluntary?
Well, the Lifeline team are all volunteers, and they have been personally impacted in their own lives, and I think that's why the charity came about.
Okay.
And again, I strongly encourage you to bring them in because they are a brilliant brilliant team doing some excellent work out there. I don't know about your, the legal requirement in regards to the AED, which is the defib, basically the charger to restart your heart. I don't know what the legal implications are. And obviously, government administration building and all our shelters, we have AED machines.
I think the airport.
I mean, those critical infrastructure will all have AED machines. There's a lot around the island, even personal ones. I was speaking to a Rotarian recently, and they were very, very happy to show me their car because they had a AED machine in their car. I'm like, that's brilliant. That's such. But knowing where these machines are around the island, and encouraging everyone to make sure they have one if they're a business, if they're obviously Commander Bay has them. A lot of these big supermarkets have them, but it is knowing where they are, so it could really save your life and produce a very, very different outcome. And the training going behind that, knowing how to use it, it's very, very simple. I think a lot of people get really nervous about using it, but actually it's a guide. It tells you exactly what to do when, so you can't go wrong.
Okay. We have 2 callers that you're going to have to take, Gannon, before you leave as well. Let's grab the first caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, OC.
Good morning. How are you, Lord Graham?
I'm good. Yeah. Good morning to Danielle.
Good morning. I'm awesome. How you doing?
I'm good. Danielle, I always wonder, but I never do hear anything talked about repatriation. I always think about all the people that we do have on island, especially the low paid people who would be the first ones to be affected by hurricane if it's coming. So, but then the government, for some reason, have removed the major part of repatriation fee and just make it $200 across the board for everyone. I think that need to be put back in place in case of a major hurricane coming our way, which we know now from time it leaves the African coast. We almost know exactly by the different models where it's coming, so we'll have enough time to, repatriate people off the island, because if we have a major disaster, all those people going to need food to eat, more fruit, meat, mouths to feed. You got to take care of the waste, water, everything. So I was wondering if there's anything thinking about like repatriating people.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. One of the things that we have under our National Emergency Operations Centre is what we call the Evacuation Emergency Support Team, and that's led by our friends at the airport. Evacuation is a bit of a funny thing. Again, it's very much a personal choice. I think a lot of people, it doesn't matter where you're from Cayman or where you're from elsewhere, will choose to leave if there's a big storm coming. I think the unpredictable, you mentioned the predictability of it. I think, personally, I think they're very unpredictable. And I think, you have to make that decision whether you're going to evacuate or not quite well in advance in order to make sure you can secure a flight. And it really is a first-come, first-served scenario. We do try and get the most vulnerable people out of the island. But again, we haven't had to do this for many, many years because we haven't been in that risk factor and haven't experienced a Cat 5 for anything near a Cat 5 for a long time. So I think repatriation afterwards might be a situation we talk about, but again, during just before a storm, in regards to evacuation, we wouldn't request anyone to leave the island. I mean, everyone has a part to play on the island, whether they're from Cayman or not. And again, I think a lot of the workforce are made up of a diverse population. So everyone has a role to play in the aftermath and the recovery. So again, I think it's knowing what your plan is. If people do want to leave the island, whether from Cayman or whether from elsewhere, they just need to know that they need to evacuate earlier, make that decision earlier, because the flights will stop running close up to a storm. They can't, obviously the airport closes. But it wouldn't be expat specific. It would be very much whoever needs to go, who can get a flight, will be evacuated.
Yeah, and also maybe we may want to focus more on ensuring that employers take on more responsibility when it comes to the housing, of their staff, to ensure that they're not put in vulnerable situations.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a great point, OC. It's like, we have various different financial means on the island right now. And, we have shelters, of course, but of course we're always trying to make more shelter capacity available. But making sure employers and, landlords and everyone else is playing their role to ensure that whoever they are looking after, be it their staff or the tenant, is being accommodated. In an aftermath of any storm, we're going to need as many people who are willing to work to make sure that we can get the island back up and running very, very quickly. But I don't think it matters where you're from, as long as you're willing to work and do your bit for the Cayman Islands, so be it.
Yep. So we're going to let you grab one more call before you, and during the commercial break, we'll let you go. Next caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, Ivan, I'm not sure, I can't recall if most of the other radio station had closed down by choice, or if it was the outer band winds and stuff that caused them to close down. But I do recall that Radio Cayman was one of the last radio stations that operated pre-Ivan, and it created an environment of hope for the population. I'm wondering how does radio as part of the media factor in pre and post any impact on the island?
I think that's a great question. I think communications is so critical in the aftermath of or during any storm. So Radio Cayman are very much embedded into the National Emergency Operations Centre and are actually in the building with us to make sure that we don't go offline. They have backups here as well across the car park. We also work with all the other supermarkets, all the other communications, obviously the different radios to make sure that whoever you listen to is getting the right information and making sure it's official sources. I will say the infrastructure post Ivan specifically in the last few years has become much more robust. So we really are very confident that our communications networks, because there's so many different alternatives, contingency plans, will be up and running. Interesting enough, in Irma, everything else went down. In BBI. After Hurricane Irma, everything else went down except for the radio station, one particular radio station, and WhatsApp. So I think it's knowing the different platforms to be able to go to. But Radio Cayman obviously is incredibly robust, and again has been working with the national system since time and way before my day.
And have you mentioned the NENS?
The NENS, yes. So the National Emergency Notification System, again, there's two phases right now. We've got the radio interrupt. So if something dramatic happens right now, we can literally set off an alert from our phones at Hazard Management to breach all the radios across the island. So again, at 2:00 in the morning, if there's an incident, we would alert through the radios. Now again, going back to those different contingencies, we appreciate that not everyone's listening to the radio at 2:00 in the morning. Mm-hmm. So we are looking at different methods. For example, the app that we have, the National Emergency Notification app, and that's phase 2 of our project. And again, we've got, I think, 10,000 users, but given that we've got about 83,000 people on the island, there's 74,000 people we need to still find to make sure they download it.
That depends on whether or not the Work Permit Board and the Business Staffing Plan Board meet next week. And being sarcastic.
I see, it's true, it's all good. But I think, again, strongly encouraging the public to download the app. All the information's on our website. Again, we've got a technical team waiting to help anyone download it who's not quite so politically savvy, IT savvy like myself. I think it's just really important. If something happens in the middle of the night, or we have a rapid intensification of a storm, you're going to get a very loud alert that's going to wake you up. If by chance it's just, for example, a regular hurricane coming our way that's not too dramatic, doesn't have a massive rapid intensification, you'd still get an alert, you'd get the information, but you'd get a softer tone. So again, please download that app. Very happy to help you out with that. Again, www.neens.gov.ky. And again, call us at Hazard Management. But again, I think it's, phase 3 is a cellular broadcast that we're working on as well. But please, make sure that you have your different communications methods. If you have a fire, for example, or an earthquake, let's talk about an earthquake across the islands. And, obviously the communications network goes down quite quickly because everyone's trying to call each other and so forth. Have a plan with your family as to where you'll meet if the communications are down. It's those kind of things that's going to save a lot of stress and a lot of energy that you don't need to dispel during a very difficult time.
Yeah, okay. Danny, give you an opportunity for some closing comments before we go to our next commercial break.
Thanks, OC. Again, just a massive reminder to everyone. Hazard Management is very much here to help you with your plans, with your, school presentations, service clubs, whatever it is. Please invite us in. We also, help the public, corporate sector with business continuity plans. And we obviously do it for government as well. But very, very happy to help in any shape or form, just to make sure that you're ready. We've got some excellent tools on our website, be it supplies lists and information as how to prepare your home. And our website obviously is caymanprepared.ky. But please utilise those tools now to make sure you're ready for whatever the season holds.
Okay, folks, I want to thank Ms. Dana Coleman and Mr. John Tibbetts again as part of our Hurricane Ivan 20th anniversary commemorating this. So we have National Week of Preparedness taking place from today, the 18th of September, until the 25th of September as well. Danny, thank you very much. Folks, don't change that dial. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
She hear clunk and her car stop. I was just about to send her some money, so I send it straight to her JN money transfer card. It cost me less, and perhaps she use the card, pay the garage right away. She'll get discount through the JN Rewards program in Jamaica. This card make things easy. You can even get funds at any multi-link ATM.
JN Money Transfer Card. Fast, affordable, convenient. Tell your loved ones in Jamaica about it. Sign up is free.
The sale you've been waiting for is here. Brand Source Home Gallery's custom closet and kitchen cabinet sale is now through September 30th. Save 20% on closets, pantries, Murphy beds, wall units, media centers, and that long overdue kitchen cabinet makeover. Our designers will create your dream closet or kitchen. Choose from our in-stock selection or special order and have installed before December. Shop now and save 20% with Brand Source Home Gallery's custom closet and kitchen cabinet sale. Hurry, sale ends September 30th. Visit us at 209 Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, or call 623-5000.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers, a compounding story.
I don't think people realize how pain creeps into your life. It has a way of robbing your strength. I really don't like taking prescription medication orally.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. They understand.
When it comes to compounded medication, it's personal. So whenever there's a problem with some medication or treatments that's not working right, then a physician will call me and say, hey, they're having bad side effects from this medication.
Compounding pain cream changed the game. Made special for me. Significant pain relief in the form of a cream. That is a new experience for me.
It's changed his life.
It worked.
Ask your pharmacist or healthcare provider about compounding at West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Call 914-6449.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. We're going to have about 20 minutes of open lines with you if you want to call in, if you have other things that you may want to talk about rather than talking about week of preparedness, or you may want to call in and talk about how you are prepared in the event of a disaster. And we shouldn't just focus on hurricanes. Other man-made disasters could occur as well as natural disasters as well, and whether or not you have a plan in place. Okay, we have a question in relation to who's in charge of tree branches growing across the road. Well, if the tree is in your property, I would say that you are responsible, for it. We know that the National Roads Authority, they have a road cutting program. I must say, though, I haven't seen those tractors out in quite a while now. I haven't seen those. I know places like on Queens Highway in the Savannah area and stuff like that, as well. But if you have a tree growing in your yard, you should be responsible and ensure that the overhang doesn't occur, doesn't go over in the public on the public roads, as well. One of our listeners wrote and said, talking about the press release from the Minister of Education that I shared with you earlier in the show, says that I would like to congratulate Mr. Jerome McCoy on his new position in education. He will do well. As one of his teachers in his formative years, he was a special student, sweet, quiet, humble, keen, smart, and hardworking. In him was a given potential for great leadership. Well done, Jerome. Cayman is very proud. Let your light shine. I have faith in you, son. Keep up the good work. God bless. That's from one of our listeners, as well. Miss Susan, do we have a caller? We do have a caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. O.C.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
I am fine, thanks. But I am very concerned about the condition this country is in at the moment.
Yes. Valid concern.
Ivan was a disaster, yes, but I think we're pretty well in another disaster now as well. I am very concerned about all of the expansion and the explosion of building or everything. Everywhere you turn, it's buildings going up. There's no or had been no moratorium on any of these buildings, and I don't know if government understands the mess we're getting in when it comes on having to staff all of these buildings. Although it's easy to give work permits and they're looking forward to the money for it, but we're going down the drain too fast. We need a moratorium on building. We need a moratorium on work permits, as well as Cayman status or PR. We cannot accommodate every person in the world that wants to come and stay here. And we must learn that. I've heard it talked from years ago, but it seems like it goes into their affairs. I don't understand why we're getting in this position. Our infrastructure here cannot cope with what we have, much less all of the thousands more that would be expected to be here to man all of these offices or whatever buildings they are. I'm sure they're going to have thousands of work permit applications for the recent buildings that have been built or in process of building.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how what they're thinking about. I know we need development, but it must be controlled. We can't accommodate everything that everybody wants to do here one time. I don't understand. It looks like they think the more the merrier. I don't know if they're looking forward to the 240,000 population, but I guarantee you we'll be in a big mess if we even get to 100,000 here. I believe we can't cope with it. No infrastructure can keep up with what's going on. And it seems like they're blindfolded or something. I don't know if it's the reason why. And I hate to have to discuss certain things like this, but I'm looking out for my children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren that I do have. I don't know what's going to happen in a few years more time, if time lasts. I can probably survive, but the next couple of generations are going to be sufferers, especially born Caymanians. I don't know if there's any answer to this, but I am very concerned, and I feel that government needs to look into this very seriously and very soon before they go and flood the market anymore. We get 500 cars a month coming in, 500 driver licenses being issued is what I've been told. How can we accommodate this or continue to deal with this? There are more cars now than people now, I believe. Anyway,
Mr. Tommy, I would say that there are a lot of people in the Cayman Islands who share your views in relation to development. And as to your question, in terms of we're not sure what the politicians are going to do about it, we have to hold them accountable, and that is why the next elections in the Cayman Islands are going to be so pivotal, because we should hold those who are seeking to hold higher office in the Cayman Islands more accountable. We should question them about what their views are and what their plans are for development, what their views are in relation to addressing the crime situation in the Cayman Islands, addressing the traffic situation in the Cayman Islands, addressing the concerns that Caymanians have that they're simply disappearing in their own country as well. And Mr. Tommy, before you go, I have a question for you about the old dip, the dip in Crew Road. There's a group in Crew Road who are looking to preserve the dip. Who was in charge of the dip in Crew Road? Whoop. I think I may have been talking to empty mic. But any of you out there who may know, if you knew about the dip in in Crew Road, where you could take your cattle would go there to be dipped so that they could be rid of the ticks and everything in Crew Road right before you got to Mr. Roscoe's house there. If you know more about that in terms of who was in charge of it, if you had to pay to have your cattle dip, who did you pay that to? As well. We're going to take our last commercial break. Do we have a caller on hold too, Miss Susan? One caller on hold. We're going to take the caller as soon as we return from the commercial break. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
You can now renew your driver's license or motor vehicle license online, and you don't need an ESID number. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Visit www.dvdl.gov.ky.
There you go, sir. Thanks for choosing JN Money Transfer.
Boy, thanks to JN Money Transfer, I can stay right here in Cayman and pay Mama bills back home in Jamaica. Her water, light, phone and other bills never late. Every month I pay everything in one place.
Make payments to over 30 companies in Jamaica through JN Money Transfer. Fast, affordable, convenient. Call 1-800-744-1163 for details.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
The Lions Club of Grand Cayman is proud to continue to serve our island community. During the last Lionistic year, they successfully carried out community projects like the Prostate and Colon Cancer Awareness Campaign, site screenings, spelling bees, swim meets, and their community food pantry. The Lions Club of Grand Cayman looks forward to continuing their service during the 2024-2025 Lionistic year and for many more years to come. The Lions Club of Grand Cayman, where there's a need, there's a lion, serving the community for over 50 years.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. We're in the last leg of the show this morning. We do have a caller. Good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello, Mr. Ossie.
Yes, sir.
Sorry I got cut off, but anyway, you were talking something about the whole dip in Crew Road.
Yeah. There's a group who's seeking to sort of like preserve it, and one of the questions that no one knew, and in our discussions, I suggested that you or Paul, I think Paul may have been more involved with the cattle than you are, but you can correct me on that. But we wanted to know who was in charge of the dip, whether or not you had to pay a fee, for dipping the cattle, and who that was paid to.
To my knowledge, I have no recollection of having to ever pay for the use of it.
Uh-huh.
I think government maintained it with the chemicals that they had to put in it to keep it fresh or active, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
But I certainly dip many cows there, not only with Paul. I mean, not only Paul does it or did it. In later years, he's been probably more involved with cattle than I was, but certainly had my share of it.
Okay.
Yeah, we used to walk cows from Crew Road, in the area of where we were born and raised, and walk them up to the dip in Crew Road. Traffic had to look out for us when we were walking the cows up the road. So I guess that couldn't work these days. But anyway, yeah, I remember those good old days.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thank you very much, for that. I recall as well when I used to be by the Dixons up there in the morning, when the cows would come up, I would go out there and watch them while they were being dipped and everything else. But thanks for that information, Mr. Tommy. Thank you.
Before you go, hello?
Yep.
Yes, we don't have much to show of our past, I agree. But anyway, your ad just before this was advertising hospitals or doctors, whatever. I firmly believe we have too many doctors here because I see ads, I see notice boards soliciting doctors or
patients.
Patients. So we need to look at a comprehensive look at what we're doing here in this country, because we're gonna run a show or run aground if we don't look out. One thing I want to also mention, I see this new venture about a referendum for the port facility. Believe you me, I believe 3/4 of the people here do not want to have the dock a pier, but they don't realize the value it is to this country. And I'm not catering to any individual, but the masses, I'm sure, in the industries here would be a major spoke of cruise passengers. And even though the stayover passenger visitors may spend more in the hotels, the money stays right in the hotel. There's very little circulates. Maybe a taxi or fare or two might get a little business. But with the cruise ships, it's many thousands of people that benefit from them. It's spread out over hundreds or thousands of people, which they don't realize. I don't believe how valuable that is to the country. And years ago, when this other project was offered to be done by the cruise ships companies, maybe that was not the right thing to do at that time, the way they were going to do it. I think they were going to do sheet piling for the base of the pier, which would have definitely affected the 7 Mile Beach or any beach around that area. That would have blocked the sand moving back, both back and forward, and it would probably dumped it all into the deep and they drop off. Now, what they're talking about, I think, is piers. I mean, is columns or ballast, some type of pier that would go into the ground, into the bottom, and if they go out far enough there, I don't think they would even need to do any dredging. And it would also, and then this infrastructure of the dock itself would be above the water, and with removable panels that in rough weather they could remove them to avoid destroying the whole thing.
Okay. Mr. Tommy, I want to thank you very much. We have one more caller that we're going to try to grab before we go off the air. Let's grab that caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hey, good morning, O.C. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good, my friend. I'm good.
You're sounding very distant. You're sounding very distant.
Oh, okay.
Much better.
All right. Yeah, they have some good points there by Mr. Tommy, and but another topic on the piers and things like that. But I think he was trying to explain pilings is what they call them.
Yeah.
But he making some good points. But I just want to ask a question, O.C. I asked it on Dwayne's show. We have seen ads put out where the government is okaying 36,300 applicants for the Cayman Islands. O.C., what part of, and I wish Dr. Steele was there with you this morning, because I hear the King of Easton call yet to say nothing, so I don't know what happened to him. But I just want to ask, what part of Cayman does Caymanians have chance of getting anything, jobs to do out of 36,300 applications for the Cayman Islands?
Okay, but you understand the nature of those applications. They're not first-time applications.
Yeah, I understand that
Okay.
not first-time applications, but what I'm saying is, where does it have preference for Caymanians to get somewhere or some piece of that pie out of that 36,000 applicants that they're putting out there?
Because the boards that are granting the work permits must take into consideration whether or not there are Caymanians who are qualified, who are available to take those positions and only after that condition has been satisfied should they be granting work permits. So we have to assume that process has been followed.
And this, and one of the things they're using against our people is this term that you just used, qualified. And that is what gets to me, because our people are qualified. Government themselves gives these children, these past students and students to come, qualifications to go away, gives them
scholarships to go to get qualified. Yeah.
To get qualified, and once they get qualified, they return, and then government said, no, we already put somebody in the place to fill that spot, and here we go again. We back to square one way back. They have nobody to fill these spots that they sent away. The government spent all this money on to send away to train for these spots. I don't understand why it is that the government is passing these things and not saying, listen, remember when they said after the pandemic that all of these applications and jobs were going to be first preference to Caymanians. I remember I'm saying that bold. I recorded it, and I still got it on my phone. How it is that we are still, our children are still begging, they're hanging themselves, killing themselves, suicide, because they feel like they have no future in this country. That doesn't add up to me, one bit.
Did you get an opportunity, caller, to listen this morning? And this may be a drop in the bucket, but every little bit counts. Did you get an opportunity to speak to to hear Mr. John Tibbetts talk about the Weather Service, and National Weather Service, and meteorologists there in the National Weather Service, and opportunities, for Caymanians to go off and study? He has 18 staff members there, 17 of whom are Caymanians, and one person married to Caymanians. So there are opportunities out there. We just, and I'm not wanting to place the burden on the shoulders of everyone, but we have to look and see where those opportunities are. We're not going to find them on one big billboard saying, here are all the opportunities, for Caymanians. Yes, we are lacking in many respects in terms of opportunities for Caymanians, especially in the service industry and the tourism industry. But there are many opportunities, even in government, that some people are not taking advantage of. And again, this morning, you heard me big up Mr. McCoy about, his progress through the civil service and now a deputy chief officer.
Yeah, and I heard what he was saying, and I missed part of it because I had to drop off my son to work. But it's good to know that a department, that's the thing, certain departments in government are willing to take in the Cayman young men and women, and some departments don't want to put aside the older ones to replace, that the younger ones can come in and learn. That is the problem. We need to get the young ones to learn where the system continues by removing some of these older ones, retire them, and put in younger ones, train them and put them in the system. So I don't understand why government keep putting these things out there and not waiting and giving our Caymanian people, children, a chance.
Okay, and don't forget to tune in on Friday. You heard Minister Bryan speak about the fact that the Deputy Governor will be on here on For the Record on Radio Cayman on Friday morning, talking about the civil service and the hiring, of Caymanians as well. So we're going to encourage you to listen to that show as well. And if the phone lines are open, if we have time to open up the phone lines to call in, if not, then to send us a message by WhatsApp to express your views as well. But the opportunities are coming.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, thank you, O.C. And check and find out what happened with the King of Easton there and Dr. Steele.
Well, Lord Graham called in this morning,
Oh, he already?
Yeah, that means that you're not listening continuously to the show. You got to dedicate from 7:30 to 10 o'clock for Radio Cayman only. Nothing else.
That's my bad. All right, I'll take it back.
All right, take care. Enjoy yourself. Please stay safe as well, folks. I want to thank all of you who participated this morning. Thank Mr. John Tibbetts, Ms. Danny Coleman as well. Thank Minister Brian for calling in and reminding us about Friday morning as well. I want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are. I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that or don't want to do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. So have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Dwayne Banks at 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands that we hope to retain as our, I place the emphasis on our own. Please stay safe.
For the record, proudly brought to you by
Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury.
And JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient.
Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.
And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Kirk Market. Experience a world of choice.
Radio station. Radio Cayman is the voice of the